fucking sad. Yeah, it's just so sad. Hello, welcome to this video. My name's Dan, aka Lucid. I'm a singer-songwriter, music producer kind of guy. And today I'm going to be reacting to Björk's Vulnicura. Let's go. Okay, so first things first, I'm sorry to all the Björk fans who have been waiting for me to do this album. Loads of albums started coming out and it just got kicked along again and again. But here I am. Merry Christmas. I'm finally doing it. But yeah, I'm very excited to actually get into this one because I heard a couple of songs from this one in my Björk discovery video. And I remember getting really emotional at Black Lake in particular. I know that this one's about her splitting up with her partner. So yeah, I've been really intrigued into getting into a Björk album that feels like it's much more kind of vulnerable. Obviously, she does have vulnerability in everything she makes, but this one seems to be there's like an extra level of vulnerability. Maybe that's why it's called Vulnicura. Interesting. But yes, sorry it's taken so long, but I'm here now. Before we jump into this, if you're new to the channel, then make sure to subscribe and make sure to check out all of my old reactions. I did 2 discovery videos. I've done Post, I've done Vespertine, I've done Vulnicura. Oh yeah, I did Homogenic, so make sure to check out those. If you want to actually watch this video completely unedited, so with no cuts in any of the songs or anything, the full version of this video is on Patreon for you to check out. The link is in the description. If you want to follow me over on Patreon, you can do even on the free tier where you can just keep up to date with everything that's going on over there. I've got a whole bunch of new projects in the works, including a podcast, which I'm recording right now. Yeah, so if you want to follow on that tier, then you can keep up to date with everything that's going on and you can be involved in the community. Also, a new thing, something that we're doing on the channel now is everybody puts their top 5 songs of the album in the comments. So I'd love for you to join in and yeah, make sure to let me know what your top 5s are. I try and get to reply to comments the following Monday after the video comes out. Oh yeah, and make sure to stick around to the end of the video where I will be sharing my favorite song from the entire album. As for the title, Vulnicura, it could be like a portmanteau of like different words. Like you've obviously got vulnerable, you've got cura like cure. And obviously I know a certain aspect of what this is going to be about. It's going to be about her divorce. And so, yeah, that's kind of my perception going in. Oh God, I don't think I'm ready. Okay, let's go on to the first song. This is Stone Milk. Obviously I did hear this in one of my discovery videos. I think it was like the voted for discovery video. It's important to rediscover these songs as part of the album. So yes, let's go. I mean, she loves a string. A juxtaposition. God, even in this vocal, she sounds wounded, doesn't she? And the strings sound so somber. Oh. I love the heaviness of those drums, like coming through the strings. Who is open-chested? Yeah. It's beautiful. This one actually has such a kind of like slightly simpler beauty to it, like especially compared to a lot of her stuff that gets so kind of like detailed and like alien, you know. This one does already seem more grounded, doesn't it? What is it that I have? Right. Yeah. Seems to be that she's like, maybe she's been accused of not being vulnerable. And she's like, who is totally vulnerable, you know? It's very difficult to like be completely vulnerable. I also love this idea of milking a stone, you know? It's like trying to like, it's like getting blood from a stone, you know, that kind of phrase. It's like there's nothing, it's dry, completely dry, and yet you're still trying to get something out of it. Yeah. I wish to synchronize our feelings, you know? I just want to be on the same page as you. The string arrangements are so wonderful. A juxtaposition. Like, just the it's like she's broken, wounded, staggering, glitching. you know, like with her last breath, the last gasp of breath, this is what she's trying to say, you know, trying to still find the mutual coordinates and the synchronized feeling. She's still trying to get on the same page right to the last moment, but she fears that at this point she's just trying to milk a stone, something that has nothing left to give. It's fucking sad. Yeah. It's just like two violins. Oh my God. I remember noticing this when it ended with two strings, two violins, almost dancing around one another. There are moments where they both go to the same note and yet they both end up kind of pulling apart. And it's almost like these two instruments represent her and her partner trying to get back onto the same page, but ultimately not being able to, you know? God, that's just so beautiful. There's just such an instinctual feeling of sorrow to that whole arrangement, particularly the strings, you know, like she just knows exactly where the emotion is in those instruments and knows how to pull it out for her use, you know. It's fabulous. And the way that she was performing it, like there's a desperation, like those stuttered kind of vocals, syllables that are all disconnected just are so visceral in that feeling of staggering, that feeling of not having much air left, of not having much energy left, like you've been fighting for so long and these are like your last words, you know. It's just so evocative and just like tells you what's going on. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just incredible. A juxtapositioning fate. Their fates are juxtaposed against one another, like they're destined to go in different directions. Find our mutual coordinates. It's like try and find the bits where we cross over and see if we can actually figure this out. Moments of clarity are so rare. I better document this. At last, the view is fierce. All that matters is who is open-chested and who has coagulated. Show me emotional respect. I have emotional needs. So actually in this moment, it seems as if she is actually found like a kernel of hope. She's found this moment of clarity and she's like, I need to actually put this into a song quickly. All that matters is who is open-chested. It's like between the two of them, like who can be vulnerable and true and who is coagulated like blood, has like dried up and given up. That's the feeling of coagulation, you know, when oxygen gets to blood, you know. And yeah, this idea that like, I have emotional needs. She's telling him, you know, you need to respect my emotions and you need to get on the same page as me in terms of my emotions. You need to be able to understand and we need to be able to synchronize the feelings that we have for one another and what we're going through, you know. What is it that I have that makes me feel your pain? Like milking a stone to get you to say it. Who is open and who is shut up. So it's like she understands his pain, but he doesn't understand hers. She's like, I have this like empathy for you, but you don't. And actually trying to get you to understand me is like milking a stone. It's like oxymoronic, which like really does tie into the theme of the song in general. Like this idea that like our fates are juxtaposed to one another, you know, they're going in different directions. And the idea of milking a stone also kind of has these two different elements to it. There's the duality throughout the lyrics, being open and closed, being, you know, the milk and the stone, the like trying to come together, synchronization. So there's so many levels to like the fact that there's duality and they can't come together onto the same page. It's fucking great. Amazing. Okay, next song. This is Lion Song. I love this little vocodery thing. Beautiful. Either way, maybe out of this, wow, maybe he will come out of this loving me. So it seems as if she's like trying to find a solution. Still, this wild lion doesn't fit in this chair. This wild lion doesn't fit in this chair. Wow. God, like, for all of Björk's experimentations and, like, lyrics that are super figurative, to say maybe he will come out of this loving me is a big deal from her, I think. Once it was simple at a time. Yeah. These two strings harmonizing in that moment. Like, it was used to be simple, and it's just those two cellos that are just in sync with one another.
Anything for clarity.
Maybe it's like repeated, this mantra, you know. Maybe he will come out of this. Maybe he won't. Wow. God, the way that Björk plays with low frequency to really kind of build like a staggering kind of motion is pretty amazing. The drums feel so anxious, don't they? It really does feel like so visceral in the way that it's like the strings are such a kind of somber sadness, and yet the drums are so skittering and anxious over the top. It's like fear, anxiety, worry, with like this kind of unrelenting sadness in the background, you know? Oh, it's not it.
Or he will feel I'd just like to know.
Yeah. The string arrangements in this are just so wonderful. Yeah, beautiful. So sad, but like, yeah, with a skittering anxiety over the top. She really just represents the duality of that kind of thing where you're in that space where you're like feverishly trying to find a solution to a breaking down of your relationship. And yet, like, you know, I think she knows that there's not a good ending for it. And it's like so incredible how she can create that in quite a simple way, really. It's almost like, again, with the duality, there's almost like there's just two different things going on in that song at the same time. It's like you've got the sadness and you have the anxiety. The anxiety is the drums, the sadness is all the strings. And it's the simplicity in that vision, I think, is quite important for this song, you know, important for the album in general, it seems. Maybe he will come out of this, maybe he won't. Somehow I'm not too bothered either way. Fuck. Maybe he'll come out of this loving me. Maybe he'll come out of this. I smell declarations of solitude. Maybe he will come out of this. Vietnam vet comes after the war. Lands in my house. This wild line doesn't fit in this chair. Maybe he'll come out of this loving me. So it seems as if he's like, maybe it's a trial separation. And she's kind of saying, maybe this will result in him loving me again. But there's a feeling that like, after she's set the lion free, the lion is wild and the lion can't come and sit back in the chair. It's a wild animal now, you know? And it's like the Vietnam veteran as well, like somebody who can't go back to the way they were. That's really like the key theme there. Like, but the fact that she says somehow I'm not too bothered either way, I think she does care, but I think maybe at this point she's so tired that she just needs resolution. That's the feeling that I'm getting from it. Should I throw oil on one of his moods? But which one? Make joy peak, humor peak, frustration peak, anything peak for clarity. She's like, I just need some kind of emotion out of him. Maybe he will come out of this, or he will feel so solitaire. Solitaire, kind of a game that you can play on your own. And maybe she's thinking he's gonna come out of this feeling like he wants independence. And she just needs an answer now, you know, so she can move ahead and deal with it. It's really sad. Gosh, yeah, beautiful. And I love the idea that of it being a Lion song, the idea of that this is the song for the untamed, you know, and now he can't go back. This would be really awkward if I've like misunderstood and like it's actually like a different album that's the divorce album. Let's go on to the next one. This is History of Touches. Oh, I love that synth. It's lovely.
I wake you up, press my love for you.
Reminiscing.
I can feel all of you.
Wow.
At the same.
God, there's just something about the way that she can detect the emotion in instruments, even in like completely electronic instruments, and utilize it. It's just so fascinating, endlessly fascinating to me. There's so much kind of weight in this, and the way it kind of glitches slightly. It's like a, you know, memory that's not completely accurate, maybe.
This is our last time together. Every single touch we ever touch each other, we had together.
The it's remembering the history of their entire relationship through touch, isn't it? The sadness of like letting go of that. You know, how have we got to this place? The entire archive of our love and our history compressed into a single second. That could be like making the split-second decision of finally giving up on the relationship. How can something that has spanned so many years and has so much love and so much tenderness to it be over in the blink of an eye, you know? God, amazing. She's so fabulous. I really, really, really love the synth in that. It sounded unique. It sounded like skittering and like glitchy. And I loved the moment where I went down in octave because it really became like a different sound then. At the beginning, it sounded like a kind of gentle lightness, it sounded like a memory in the way that it was like refracting and like, but it sounded kind of hopeful and light, you know, and nice. And I guess that's to represent like the beauty in the history of their touching one another. For it to then sink down the octave, it took on such a different character, and it really then became something a little bit more threatening and potent, actually, emotionally. Again, with the duality, you know, the idea that like an entire history of their love can just be reduced down to a split-second decision is just so tragic in itself, you know, and kind of incomprehensible. I wake you up in the middle of the night to express my love for you, stroke your skin and feel you. Naked, I can feel all of you at the same moment. It's beautiful. Feeling this is our last time together, therefore sensing all the moments we've been together being shared at the same time in this wondrous time lapse. With us here in this moment, history of touches, every single archive compressed into a second, all with us here as I wake you up. It's almost like they kind of, in a split second, kind of had a moment of like physical pleasure, and like she already kind of knew that maybe it was going to be over, it was going to be ending. And so she just went through in such a quick way, just like remembered every single moment that they'd had together and just relished it and took hold of it before she knew that like it would be over, you know. It's beautiful. Okay, let's go on to the next one. This is Black Lake. But it's so sad right from the off. That melody there is just so beautiful.
Is taken, I suffer.
It's so beautiful the way she just uses two instruments to represent the two of them. Duality, it's like the whole point of this thing. It's like incredible to think on that level, you know, and to weave that throughout every song. It's beautiful.
My heart is lake drowned.
My heart is an enormous black lake. This song just gives me chills, and these big moments of just the strings just, it's so stark and like uncomfortable, really. You know, it's like incredible that she's willing to like have those moments of like those two notes. It's just like, it really is like an uncomfortable silence, isn't it? I can almost picture the two of them just stood in silence, staring at one another, like there's nothing else to say. Incredible.
Did I love you too much?
Did I love you too much? Like, wow. It's so wonderful how those drums like just get drowned out by the strings, you know. I don't know, maybe the drums like have a feeling of argument to them, you know, of like fighting, of struggling, and like, and they just get drowned out by the sorrow, you know. This almost feels like panic, doesn't it? Like, these moments are just so powerful, especially given the complexity of the drums and like the heightened emotion that seems to be building throughout those other sections. For it to just return to this uncomfortable place is just so powerful. Feels like it's getting faster as well. Almost like we're kind of like running towards, we're impacting, you know, it's gonna happen, it's gonna end, we're getting there, you know. I burn off layer by layer, revealing like complete vulnerability through the atmosphere, like this impending impact. You know, she's burning through the atmosphere and like she's revealing like the truth of her emotions, like bit by bit till she's raw. This is the bit that caught me last time. It's just so sad. Yeah. That last bit just gets me. It's just like so like somber, especially after all the kind of like those moments like where they kind of like have that slowness. Like the bit where it's just a single string and then it comes back in, and every single time it comes back in there's more and more and more built upon, and it feels like we're like reaching impact, you know, the emotion is building, we're going to get to that big explosive kind of moment. And I think it's the expectation of like going back into a big section, like a big produced section, and then it just being the strings that is just so stark and so upsetting. There's one that's with the melody of her and then one that's a different melody of him, presumably, that just tangle and dance with one another in a way that's just so sad. And like it just really hammers home that like as much as like the impending like impact, you think it's going to be explosive, it's actually just really sad, you know. It's what it is. Like at the end of the day, all it is just, it's really sad. It's just so incredible how she can like, you know, like replicate that with the way that she's crafted the entire song, you know, from every element of it. The composition of the strings, the way the emotion of the strings overwhelm the drums and like overwhelm her voice, and the way that the drums build up a level of anxiety and a level of tension. She utilizes it just so perfectly and then surprises you with that last moment. The perfect version of like tension and release. Which at the end of the day, that's kind of what songwriting is about, you know, and what composition and what music production is all about. It's all about building up attention and releasing it in a way that helps the listener understand what you're going through, you know. Our love was my womb, but our bond is broken. My shield is gone, my protection is taken. My heart is enormous lake, black with potion. I am blind, drowning in this ocean. My soul torn apart, my spirit is broken into the fabric of it all he has woven. Imagine like being with somebody for so long that like they are woven into the fabric of your body and then trying to tear that apart. Like it's just incredible. Like, did I love you too much? Devotion bent me broken. Family was always our sacred mutual mission, which you abandoned. So it seems as if the thing, although they were very different people, like she was obviously extremely emotional and he was maybe more buttoned up, a little bit more pessimistic. The thing that they had together was their family. The mission that they had together was building their family, and he abandoned them and gave up on that mission. And that for that she can't forgive, you know. You have nothing to give, your heart is hollow. I am drowned in sorrows. I am a glowing shiny rocket returning home. As I enter the atmosphere, I burn off layer by layer. And now she's left vulnerable and raw and broken. It's just the absolute most sad and sorrowful thing. Every single lyric, it really does represent like how huge and how grave, how much of a big deal this is to be breaking up a relationship of so long. It doesn't undersell it. It really, she just goes in for the sadness because that's what it is. She doesn't hold back at all. And she builds the whole song into a place where it really makes you feel the same way. And it's just incredible. I think it's probably my favourite Björk song, actually, I think. And in context of the album, like, obviously I had heard that one before, but, like, the context, knowing what this is, like, about... Because I remember when I first heard it, I had no idea. And, like, even so, I was still really moved by it, still really upset by it. So to kind of, like, now know and to, like, have heard, like, the progression, you know, at the beginning, it sounds as if, like, there's a moment of clarity where she thinks it might be able to work. There's a moment of, like, wanting an answer but not knowing what the answer is going to be. And there's that heartbreaking previous song now in retrospect of like the history of their touch, the history of their love together compressed into 1 second. And now that just brings the weight of this song home even more. It's just astonishing. So sad. Oh, Christ. Let's go on to the next song. Family. Oh, wow. This sounds so much more dark and twisted. Tearing.
Pay respect of my family.
Paying my respects to the death of my family.
And a woman try and
It's like different elements, different aspects, different relations within a family unit that have now been torn apart, you know, and are floating around.
on my knees.
Just there, that heaviness in that drum and that ripping sound is just so harsh, wounded and like painful to listen to, you know.
Father, mother, child. Will
Oh my God. God, that transition's like a fucking horror movie, like...
sorrow.
Oh God, it's giving me chills. It's like genuinely like, this is like, what the fuck have you done? You know, it's like heavy.
For the child.
Again, using the strings. The strings have turned from sadness to anger to pain, you know.
A monument of love.
Wow.
And we can get healed.
Sounds like there's some kind of hope here in this synth, in this moment of freedom from that kind of horror section.
This location.
Maybe she's finding the like solace in her children, you know, the fact that they can kind of come together and they still have love for one another despite everything that's happened, you know. God, it's just so like easy to just drift off into this space, you know. It's almost like, you know, the kind of catatonic, is it the word? Of like feeling of like after an explosion where you kind of can't quite bring your head above water, like you're just like in a kind of state of delirium after like the strength of the emotion. It's like a state of shock, like that whole like last section. It just feels like you're just drifting and you felt so many strong emotions that you now feel completely desensitized, you know. Just incredible. Like the places that went to were so like far flung, and to really kind of express to me that she is dealing with the tearing apart of her family unit and going through all the different emotions that entails, you know, like there's sorrow, but then there's absolute anger, you know, and it is she has made a point of making it scary, you know. She's referenced kind of horror strings, you know, and the fact that the strings have like turned from being very tender and very solemn and sad and like emotive in the first few songs, especially with them dancing around one another, you know, it's really sad. For her to then have a moment where the strings like horror movie strings, like skittering kind of little like horrible little discordant things, and then for it to go like proper horror movie vibes is very, 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 very important, I think, to her. Using the strings as part of the storytelling, and for her to be like, these are my emotions turning from sadness to absolute anger. How dare you leave us? How dare you decide to give up on our family? Like what she said in the previous song, our mutual mission was always the family, and you have abandoned that. You know, it seems as if you have no love in your heart left for us, and you've just left, you know. And it's that kind of like maternal instinct. It's almost like a snake, you know, that like bites out, it's that kind of instinctual kind of pain response, anger, protective response, and it just seems to be so clearly represented in the way that she's turned those strings from beautiful and sad into horror movie strings. It's amazing. Is there a place where I can pay my respects for the death of my family, the mother and the child? There is a father in the child, but no man and woman. So where do I go to make an offering? I fall to my knees, lay my flowers, light the candles. She's mourning the family unit, the idea of us being a family together, this triangle between children and then the father and the mother, this beautiful love that goes each way is broken and shattered. And where do I go to mourn this? Like, what am I supposed to do? Is there a place? Do I have a funeral? It's really just fascinating for that to be expressed in that fashion. I raise a monument of love. There is a swarm of sound around our heads, and we can hear it and we can get healed by it. It will relieve us from the pain. Interesting. I do wonder whether maybe she's talking about her creation of this album being the monument of love, and it being also a swarm of sound, of music, and we can listen to it and we can let it heal us. Her decision is to put the pain and the love and the history of her family and their relationship into song and use it as a healing function. Incredible. Fucking incredible. Okay, let's go to the next song. This is Notget. Ooh, interesting. Kind of dark and playful, like a kind of creepy puppet or something.
Didn't even notice death.
Wow. I didn't notice how our love kept me safe from death. That's what she said.
We are immortal. If I regret us, my pain we can.
Ooh. Interesting kind of marching movement now, wow, this is very different from the album so far. I don't think I've even heard any stringed instruments in this song. Oh, there we go.
Arms don't carry me. Understand your fear of death. Not get.
I will not forget this Notget.
Love, let go.
I will not regret having love that's gone. Maybe it's like fighting against these feelings. Maybe in the moment she feels like she needs to hate him and she's trying to fight against that. She's like, I'm not gonna be that. I need to try and celebrate the fact that we did have love, But it sounds like she's losing in this moment, and the strings again have taken on a new emotion, something that seems quite kind of foreboding, Wow. Safe from death. Maybe it's like without that safety now, she's fearing for herself, fearing her own loneliness. It certainly seems as if she's screaming out in loneliness, it's like she's lost at sea and she has nothing to grab onto, Yeah, there's certainly a lot of foreboding feeling in that song. It feels as if she's, scared of what's going to happen now. She's now basically in a new life. What once was comfortable for a long time and is now dramatically and awfully pulled apart. Now that everything's changed, she finds herself in a completely different place. The family unit is gone. Her comfort and safety and love is gone. She's now sleeping alone. It's jarring. And I think this song is specifically jarring for that reason. Once you fell out of love, our love couldn't carry you. That's such an interesting way of putting it. If you've fallen, you need carrying, but it couldn't. And I didn't even notice, for our love kept me safe from death. So there's a sense of she was still willing to be in denial because of the safety that like being in love in general and having him there gives her, you know. If I regret us, I'm denying my soul to grow. Don't remove my pain, it is my chance to heal. We carry the same wound, but we have different cures. Maybe he's hating her and she's trying not to hate him because she knows that like she needs to feel the pain in order for her soul to grow and for her to move on, you know. But in admitting that to herself, she's going to have to go right through the middle of these emotions, you know. After our love ended, your arms don't carry me. Without love, I feel the abyss. That's the fear in it, isn't it? It's the fear of the abyss. It's the fear of nothingness, you know. After you've been feeling love for so long and it's part of you, when it's gone, it's emptiness, and that is more terrifying than anything, you know. So I would not forget this Notget. It's like I'm not going to forget the emptiness, the feeling of like loss, because it's going to be important for me to understand it. It's going to be important that in feeling this, I'm going to understand my fear of death and maybe be able to come to terms with it and find balance, you know. Love will keep us all safe from death. Yeah, maybe she's saying that like her love for her children is going to be the thing that's going to save her, but like it's just so jarring. And I feel like, yeah, it's like there's so much fear in that song. It's like pretty stark, isn't it? Okay, let's go on to the next one. This is Atom Dance feat Anoni.
We are fierce.
Again, another use of strings. Feels like she's really exploring all the different kinds of way that you can play stringed instruments in order to bring out all these different emotions, you know.
Universal wavelength. Atom dance. Love is the ocean. Sleep.
This one does seem slightly less jagged, but still isn't completely soothing yet, is it? Like
Dancing towards transformation.
dancing to our transformation. Okay. Maybe this is her transformation post-relationship. Are gonna have to change in order to survive, you know? Maybe she's talking about her own atoms realigning and changing in a way that kind of suggests that she's becoming a new person, you know? It does sound like a dance, like plucked, waltz-like.
As primal.
Love that sweeping synth.
Dance with me.
Into the pain and dance with me. There's a building tension, isn't there? Wow. I'm obsessed with this sweeping synth. Kind of adds like such a kind of wave kind of quality.
And dance with me.
Oh, okay. So strange to hear another voice. Kind of come out of nowhere. Also to hear a male voice. The strings just have such a place, don't they? And the moments that like the strings seem to disappear, you're almost like waiting for them to come back. I feel like the strings represent her core emotion throughout the whole thing. And the moments where you don't have the strings maybe are where she feels nothing at all, you know? Wow. Although this song has darkness to it, it does feel like there is hope going all the way through it. It's almost like pain, like she's pushing through the pain, you know, to come to the other side because she believes that on the other side she will be a new person, you know, the transformative pain.
You are my side.
This like amalgamation of the two voices is quite interesting. Creates such kind of unique sound profile.
Dancing.
Is that it? Yeah. Very interesting. That one definitely, yeah, it felt like it had some kind of hope in it. And I feel like it's in this feeling of transformation. We are each other's hemispheres. I'm fine-tuning my soul to the universal wavelength. No one is a lover alone. I propose an atom dance. Let this ugly wound breathe. We fear unconditional heart space. Healed by atom dance when you feel the flow as primal love. Enter the pain and dance with me. It seems as if maybe she's saying we still need to kind of stay in contact. Maybe she's kind of saying, you know, although we've you know, obviously divorced and we're apart, we need to find some kind of mutual respect. We need to transform our relationship atom by atom, you know. That's by kind of dancing around one another, you doing it together. You know, that's kind of the vibe I'm getting. Yeah, because she's saying no one is a lover alone. Like, she knows that, like, they're both going through it and they might be doing it slightly differently. But, like, you are the other hemisphere. You know, you are my the other half of my atom, you know. Atoms are laughing at last, atoms are laughing. Like, that idea that atoms are, like, moving, which means they're getting warm and they're ready to transform. It's like when you heat up ice and it becomes water, the atoms start moving, like they're laughing and they transform into something else. That's what it is, you know. She's like, in this dance, this movement, we're creating friction, we're creating energy, and that heat in that energy is going to move those atoms, and those atoms are going to transform into something new. And a really interesting hemisphere, the earth, the ocean, ice turning to water, atoms, you know, it's all kind of works in different levels there. And she's saying, like, if we're going to find a new way to move forward in our lives, you know, we're obviously going to have to be in each other's lives because of the children, but, like, we need to transform in order to do that, you know? Yeah, very clever. Okay, next song, this is Mouth Mantra.
My throat can breathe through this
So I drifted off a bit there. These, like, percussive elements, like, almost sound kind of like ravey, don't they? Wow. Ooh. Cool. So heavy and foreboding, like. God, those, like, heavy, like, big moments are so cool. There's also a sense of reversing in the drums, isn't there? Like, reversed sounds that, yeah, I wonder, like, what's that to represent, you know? But the strings have become extremely grave again, haven't they? Wow. I followed a path. Yeah, wow. Feels like she's truly just, like, getting it all out there now. It's almost like she's purging the demons, isn't it? Maybe this is more about, like, her way of purging the demons, which is to make the music, you know? That's kind of a sense of what I'm getting. Powerful. That one really felt like the heaviest, you know, when we've had moments of emotion that have been, like, kind of fraught and unsure and, like, sad and tender and scary and, like, instinctual. That one felt like just letting it all out. Like, I almost got the image of, like, the demons just leaving her body through her mouth, maybe. Yeah, that's, I guess, the point, right? My mouth was stunned. My throat was stunned. My mouth was sewn up, banned from making noise. I was not heard. In vow of silence, I'd explore the negative space around my mouth. It implodes, black hole, with jaw fallen in. Oh my God, in fallen jaw fallen in, I am not hurt. The tunnel has enabled thousands of sounds. I thank this trunk noise pipe. I have followed a path that took sacrifices. Now I sacrifice this scar. Can you cut it off? For me, it's like, there's so many things she's wanted to say. There's so many things she's always wanted to express. Maybe all of this pain and all this sorrow, she's, like, kept silent. She's sewn her mouth shut. She's, like, kept quiet to try and save their relationship. But now the relationship is completely gone. She's just letting it all come out. She's like, fuck you. Maybe she's just releasing all this emotion and releasing all this anger, and it's almost like, yeah, these demons flying from her, but it's almost like involuntary. It's almost like she tries to keep it from him. She tried to keep it from her children for so long. She tried to keep it in, and it just got to a point where her mouth imploded. All the truth came flying out, and it was dark and it was angry and it was painful. And for her to, like, represent that, and for me to understand that through the sound design, it's next level, really, isn't it? Okay, before we go on to the final song, this is a quick shout out to my patrons. Thank you for everybody on Patreon who supports me. You really make it possible for me to live my life as a creative person. So thank you. And if you do want to join over on Patreon, this is just one of the perks you can get. You can also get my videos early. You can watch any of my videos unedited, including this one. You can watch all my old reactions unedited as well, so that you can actually see like my full reaction to every moment by moment bit of the song. You can listen to the album with me basically. Also in the upper tiers, you can actually get to request reactions from me, and all those videos end up on the Patreon. So there's loads of bonus videos too. You'll also get first access to all my upcoming projects, including my podcast and any new music that I'm making as well. Yeah, if you want to get involved, then make sure to click in the link in the description and head over there and support me. Final song, this is Quicksand. Oh Christ. Wow, okay, very, very, very different vibe. Well, it continues the emotion of the previous song, doesn't it?
Show it respect.
Wow. When I'm whole, I'm broken. Yeah.
And
Wow.
if she sinks
Wow.
for a cloud,
The power in the drums of this song is like really pushing it forwards, you know. And the hissing sounds like sand blowing, I guess, like that, or sound falling, you know.
feels like quicksand.
So she's talking about like how as a mother she's gonna move forward, you know. Those little sampled vocals are interesting. Almost like something trying to like break free, you know.
Up to the light.
There certainly is a sense of freedom to this song, I think. Those strings really give it a lift, you know.
Siblings of the sun, take away our future.
Yeah. Wow.
Enter soul.
Yeah, it's ending with the strings once again. And then they just cut off. Wow. Oh, a bit of Caroline. To end with the strings again is so, so poignant, and like, but they represent something different now. It feels like they're much more hopeful, much more uplifting, but the way that it just cuts off so sharply, you know, it doesn't fade off. This isn't like an ending. It's like a tearing off the plaster. It's like a cutting it like dead, you know, because that's kind of what it was, you know. They made the decision to end it and boom, it's ended, you know. Define her abyss, show it respect. Then a celestial nest will grow above. When I'm broken, I'm whole. When I'm whole, I'm broken. Our mother's philosophy, it feels like quicksand. And if she sinks, I'm going down with her. Locate her black lake. There you go. The steam from this pit will form a cloud for her to live on. When she's broken, she is whole. When she's whole, she is broken. Hackle this darkness up to the light, where choreographed oxygen embroiders the air. So beautiful. We are siblings of the sun. Let's step into this beam. Every time you give up, you take away our future and my continuity and my daughters and her daughters and her daughters. So it seems as if she's kind of choosing to take a step forward into optimism, hope. There's a lot of imagery of the sky and the sun, and like the strings really represent that sound as well. And it seems to me that she's taking solace in her motherhood as like this is my reason to continue. If I don't, then I will sink down into the quicksand. I think that's what she's saying, you know. She needs to push forward for her daughter, you know, and maybe she's kind of saying to her husband at the end as well, like, you know, we're siblings of the sun. We are people who have like gone through this together. We need to like bury the hatchet and step into the beam of sunlight together. As in, like, we may not be romantically in love anymore, but we still need to do this for the continuity of our family. You know, I think she's maybe saying in that moment that her children need to be able to see that despite the fact that parents aren't together anymore, like, that's not a reason for them to not have families in the future. Our entire family's future depends on us figuring out a way to continue parenting our children, because otherwise we're just going to lose them, you know. And that's the kind of, I think, the moral of the whole thing, and the thing she's learned at the end of this is that that's kind of her reason for continuing. Just phenomenal. The album was just, like, for me, a lot of the time with Björk, I find it extremely interesting and intriguing to listen to her stuff, because it's like so totally experimental and creative and interesting. But like, this was the first time I think I truly connected with the emotions and the storyline throughout the whole thing. Like, it really came together. It's like she utilized all those things, all the things that she's developed, her insane vision and her like ability to manipulate different sounds towards different emotions and stuff, and pulled it all together to tell a incredibly visceral and emotional and devastating story that I don't think that the other albums have that strength of vision and that strength of pure emotion. I mean, obviously that's because of like what happened, you know. Hopefully only once in somebody's life are you ever going to be that truly heartbroken, you know. And she utilized that to create something that is just absolutely phenomenal. I think my favorite thing about the album is the strings. She was almost like, I'm going to use the strings to represent the emotion the whole way through, and I'm going to explore everything that strings can do in order to develop emotion. If you think about like, you know, using like staccato, slightly out of tune strings in order to make it seem scary, using long legato strings with a bare fifth harmony so that they seem distant from one another, you know, using string melodies that weave and dance around one another to symbolize the two of them weaving and dancing around each other and not understanding, or coming together in unison but then coming apart, you know, all these different things. And like, for me, that's like the standout of the development of this album is the way she's utilized those strings. It's just amazing. And everything, all the other production around it seems to build upon or be opposite to or be representing a different emotion, but it all comes from what the strings are doing, you know. And I just think that is just, it lends it so much cohesion and makes sure that the listener understands the emotion, because I feel like in Western music specifically, we're so used to hearing strings to convey emotion. Knowing that, she knows that we can be brought along the story, even though a lot of the kind of more alien and interesting sounds are still there. She knows that those strings are there to connect the audience to the emotion of what she's trying to feel. And I feel like that's like the most incredible way to do it. It's like bringing everybody along your journey. Whereas some of her more experimental stuff, I felt like I'm isolated from it. I feel like I'm alienated from it, because it's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to feel, you know, whereas this, she really just brings you along the whole time. I think it's my favorite album of hers. Yeah. You know, I'm an empath guy and I love being able to feel somebody else's story. And for me, this is like the closest I've got with her to like really truly feeling it, you know. I think my favorite song is got to be Black Lake, just for how devastating it is. It's just phenomenal the way that like she uses those super long pauses to really represent like this feeling. Like, it really gives me the image of her and her husband staring at each other, having nothing left to say, but still not having an answer, maybe not wanting to admit that they know what the answer is, you know. It really is just so visceral and so simple. Like, it's phenomenal. And yeah, that song is just insane. And that last section with those strings just ruins me. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. If you haven't checked out my previous Björk reactions, they're coming up on the screen now. So if you want to check out my reaction to Post, it is here. If you want to check out my reaction to Vespertine, it is here.